Welcome back to 360 Sports, everyone. A new week here from the Willard studio. I'm joined alongside Vivianna, Nick, and Aiden. I'm Brennan. We're going to be here talking about football today. But before we do that, how was your weekend, guys?
Awesome weekend. Awesome. Penn State got the win.
Yes, sir.
Love to see that.
Stressful win.
So, a win is a win.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that I took years off my life. But, I love a good win.
That's good, yeah. Heart attacks aside, Penn State managed to pull out the win, which is all that matters in the end. But anyways, we're going to get right into the headlines here from yesterday's action around the league. Some unfortunate news in the injury department. Lions star edge rusher Aiden Hutchinson went down with a broken tibia and fibula, had to get immediate surgery, underwent it, successfully completed, but he's going to be out for the rest of the season. So what does this look like for the Lions, and how will they come back from this, rebound for the rest of the year without arguably their best player?
Well, obviously, prayers up for Aiden Hutchinson. That looked brutal. I don't know if you guys were able to see the replay live. That reminded me a lot of Nick Chubb's injury, just watching it. His leg was just moving in ways it should not be moving, so that was really hard to watch. But I think the Lions on defense have been okay. Even in the last, I know the Cowboys were just so dead offensively, but the Lions did good on defense. They have players like Branch, Anzalone, who's like the next Clay Matthews. That dude hits so hard. He's awesome. Terry and Arnold, Jack Campbell, and a ton of guys who can make up for the absence of Aiden Hutchinson on defense. Obviously, 7.5 sacks for Aiden Hutchinson, and that's only with 3.5, 4 games, depending if you count this game, because they had a bye week last week. So that's insane production. He'll obviously be missed. And I don't think the offense is a huge deal. Obviously, the offense is rolling. They have their people. Jared Goff is more than enough for this offense to get rolling. If they can just adjust defensively in the pressures, then I think they'll be okay. But their back seven, I think, can easily make up for the loss of Aiden Hutchinson. Obviously, it stinks. He's a huge leader, a great for just the locker room presence and everything. But we'll see what happens with a Sam Darnold-led offense next week. But we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, I think that the defensive side of the ball might look a bit different next week. They don't have their main guy. Aiden Hutchinson was so productive, and we saw that. 7.5 sacks. It's crazy. They lost a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and I was going to have him win it. That was my prediction, was that he was going to win it. And you're right, it does remind me of the Nick Chubb injury in a way. But the production of the Lions' offense, I think, will not be bothered. They beat the Cowboys 47-9. 47-9. Now, say what you will about the Cowboys' defense, but you need a productive offense to get those kind of numbers in the NFL. So I do believe that the defensive side of the ball may look a little different, and it may be a little shaky next week. But if they are able to, blaze through it and get through it, I think the Lions' defense could still be really solid, even without their guy.
Yeah, I agree. It's just heartbreaking. He's still so young, only his third season in the NFL, and then, like mentioned, 7.5 sacks, and he was leading the league, so it's devastating. And yeah, as you mentioned, I think the Lions' offense, they're still so dominant, they're still going to be scoring points, and we just have to hope that their defense will stop the opposing side.
Yeah, no, obviously a heartbreaking loss for the Lions. This dude was the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year by far, I'm pretty sure, through the season. Going to have to get some other guys to step up. James Houston is next on the depth chart. He was pretty solid for Detroit in 7 games in 2022. Didn't really play a lot last year. They may go out, make a move. There's a lot of guys, especially on the defensive side of the ball right now, that are available on some pretty bad teams. Max Crosby is one. I doubt the Lions will give up a bunch of capital to go get him.
That's the exact same thing.
But that there's a chance that maybe they're looking to add to that position now. So we'll see what the Lions do. But Aiden Hutchinson, losing him for the season, horrible, horrible injury. Prayers go up to him. But let's talk about the division, the NFC North, more general now. So all 4 of these teams are over 500. The worst team in that division right now is the Green Bay Packers, and they're tied with the Bears and the Lions for a 4-2 record. So which team do you think is going to miss the playoffs out of all of these? Because all of them right now are playing out of their minds.
I think, despite what you're going to hear from me in a few minutes in the next segment, I think the Bears just don't have the firepower and the chemistry just yet. I also don't think the Vikings can just keep this going all the time. I think Sam Darnold is having an amazing season. I'm not taking that away from him. But I just don't see the Bears and the Lions keeping it up. Caleb Williams seems to be more, coming into his own and picking it up. Obviously, I'm going to talk about DeAndre Swift in a little bit, spoiler alert, but I think he's just a little bit too young. I don't think you can take away the last 4 weeks that he's had that have been kind of mediocre at best. He's a rookie. He's got to take time. And then the Vikings, like I said, I don't think Sam Darnold is, the new Jared Goff, for example, who can just wheel and deal the whole time. But we'll see what happens. It's fun to watch as a NFC East fan in the Eagles. It's kind of hard to see. I mean, there's a really good chance that the Eagles don't even make the playoffs because 2 or 3 of these teams make it. And,
all 4 of these teams could make the playoffs.
Yeah, that is true. And I could very well see that. I just think the Packers are just rolling right now. Romeo Doubs is getting involved more than he should be now. I think the Lions are the best team in this division by far, even with the Hutchinson injury. I just think their offense is just so complete and their coaching is just so amazing and vibes are high. But it's the other 3 teams, specifically the Bears, that I think it would be a little bit fishy.
Yeah, I said Chicago as well. Again, it's that rookie QB conversation that you have, and Chicago still has a tough schedule, mostly because they have to play their opponents in the NFC North, and they have just been super dominant. All of these teams have been really good, and as we said earlier, there is a realistic path where all of these teams make the playoffs, where all of the NFC North teams make the playoffs. And, this team is still so young. You don't have to go for it all right away. Take a year or 2 and develop the team. Develop the team, get more people in there, and use that time to really build a powerhouse of a team. You can't just go in there having a rookie QB, rookie wide receivers, and all of these new players and just expect everything to click right away. Luckily, they have been doing really well, so I don't think it'll take as long as some people may suggest. But yeah, out of all of these teams, I would say that Chicago would be the one to miss the playoffs.
Yeah, I think it's definitely in between Chicago and the Packers. I'm just, for them, I'm worried about like you said, when it comes to these divisional games, these wins and losses between the Vikings, the Lions, the Packers, and the Bears. That's what's going to determine which of the bottom 2 teams right now, aka the Packers and the Bears, which of them is going to go into the playoffs. And I don't know which one yet, so we'll have to see.
Yeah, you guys mentioned these teams really haven't played each other. The only in-division game that we've seen so far between these 4 teams was the Vikings and the Packers. No other team, there's only been one division game. So 2 of them, the Bears and the Lions, still have to play all 6 divisional games. But I was pretty much word for word with you, Nick. I said the Bears, and then I really don't trust Sam Darnold either to be able to keep this up. And you were looking at the quarterbacks. The Bears have not won a road game yet. I mean, they're 0-2, and I guess they won in London. Technically, they were the home team there. But in terms of who I trust more right now, I'm trusting Green Bay to get the job done, simply because Caleb Williams is a rookie. We've seen what Jordan Love can do last year. That's who I'm putting my trust in right now, and I think the Bears and the Vikings may slip up. Because, again, Sam Darnold, I really don't know if he'll be able to keep this up.
Yeah, and I don't even want to nickel and dime each of these wins because you can do that with any team. But Caleb Williams didn't have an offensive touchdown in week 1. It was all defensive touchdowns, and they won barely. So, I mean, you could say that for a million different teams. They were 3 points away. I think I even said it at one point. The Vikings are literally 2 or 3 plays away from being 3-2 or 2-3. So they're sneaking by, and for good reason. But we're a fourth of the way into the season, something like that. So I mean, it's still anybody's game, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Anyways, we're going to be moving on here, and we're going to be going to the board. So we're going to start with Nick, go to Vivianna, then Aiden, and I will go last. We're going to be talking about unsung heroes. So some underrated players who are flying under the radar this NFL season. So we're going to pick 2 players here, and I guess, Nick, you can go first. So tell us the 2 under-the-radar players from this season so far.
I did spoil it initially, but my first one is going to be DeAndre Swift of the Chicago Bears. We were just talking about the NFC North, and this guy has been killing. Obviously came from the Eagles, having a very productive season with the Eagles, both receiving and rushing as well. In terms of rushing, he has about 17 carries per game with about 100 yards per game, which is not too bad for productivity. He's crucial on those first and second downs for the Bears, and when it's time for Caleb Williams to do those deep shots to DJ Moore, even run it with himself or go to anybody else, he can do that. But DeAndre Swift establishes that run game for the Chicago Bears. And not to mention his receiving as well. He does great receiving, those 4-yard out routes or those checkdowns, and he can make a move and do things like that. I think that's awesome. He's not scoring a lot of touchdowns, which is why I don't think a lot of people are talking about him just as much, because they will hand it off to someone like Khalil Herbert or Roschon Johnson or someone like that. So DeAndre Swift, very underrated. He's like top 10 in running backs in fantasy. He's helping my team a lot, so that's why I'm noticing. Obviously, Eagles fan, love the guy. I think we were a little too harsh on him last year as fans, so we'll see. But my next person, we're going to stick to the running back game, is going to be Bijan Robinson. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's saying that Bijan isn't doing good. I'm not saying that at all. But he's somewhere in the top 10 of all things, including yards per carry, rushes, and touchdowns. He's been great. Obviously, the Falcons, we were talking about the NFC North. NFC South just as well, shocking people in a lot of games. So Bijan has been awesome. I'm sure he's having a lot of fun. See his Longhorns dominate college football, which is awesome. But, yeah, he's just killing. He's productive. He's reliable. He's not turning the ball over a lot at all. And it's just been good. Obviously, Kirk Cousins, he's been getting all the claim to fame with his insane game-winning drives all the time. I think he's had like 3 or something like that by now, which is absolutely nuts. But Bijan helps with those drives, those nice long drives that wear out defenses and keep them in the game. So 2 running backs. I think running backs as a whole are a little bit appreciated in just salary cap, as well as their productivity and the way they can act as a wide receiver, a blocker, and a rusher. I think that's super valuable to football. So had to represent the running backs over here. Bijan and D Swift. That's all I got.
Yeah, the running backs, obviously, before you said I was going to mention, there's been a lot of great running backs this year, and a lot of them breaking out again, like Alvin Kamara coming back into his former self here, Derrick Henry continuing his dominance with the Raiders. There's so many of them. Shout out the running backs who've been playing so well after a long offseason of controversy with their pay and whatnot. But anyways, we're going to go over to you, Vivianna. What do you got for us?
Okay, so my unsung heroes for this week are... So I have Chris Boswell. If you watch the Pittsburgh Steelers, Justin Fields at times cannot score touchdowns. I mean, he's been running the ball, but pass game, no bueno. Boswell actually is counting, I believe, for 58 of the Steelers' points this year.
No way.
Swear.
Did he have? Wasn't there one game where he only?
The first game of the Steelers, he scored all the points. So Chris Boswell, I believe people, they're not really looking at him. I believe that he deserves all the hype. And for extra points, he's made all of his extra points, and he is the most consistent field goal kicker from 50 plus. He's the most accurate, and he's scoring the points for all the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next, I have Roman Wilson. Yesterday, he barely started, I understand, but he was one of the best wide receivers coming out of a school we don't talk about. But he was hurt. He got hurt in training camp. But I believe because with George Pickens, the Steelers aren't really capitalizing on him. I mean, he is in like a little bit of controversy right now with the eye black and everything. But he isn't really popping off how everyone thought. I mean, Calvin Austin is doing great as well. But I think Roman Wilson, as he starts to come in, he is a rookie. I think he is going to do great, and I think he will help the Steelers offense, hopefully by scoring more touchdowns. He's really fast. He has great hands. Like I said, one of the best wide receivers out of a school we don't talk about. But yeah, I think Roman Wilson will get the job done.
That Chris Boswell pick was
that's
really
a great
good.
Pick.
That
love that.
That was
great
awesome.
Pick.
But he's on my fantasy team. He's amazing. But I grew up in Pittsburgh too, and I can firsthand. He was probably the most. You're right. He's one of the most consistent players.
Yeah.
Like year in and year out, this dude just produces. And it's tough kicking, especially on a field like the Steelers where it's all natural grass. I mean, you see it rain, snow there too, and what he's been able to do is very, very impressive. Shout out the kickers, Chris Boswell. All right, Aiden, before I go, let's see what you have to say.
Okay, so my heroes are some interesting picks in my own opinion. My first one is going to be Zach Bond, linebacker for the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, when he was initially signed in the offseason, there was not really a lot of hubbub about it, and he didn't seem, like a good signing. A lot of people just kind of took it off, he's going to be a depth linebacker or something. He's actually been one of the most consistent players of this team. Now, the Eagles have been playing very inconsistent lately, but Zach Bond continues to produce. He has 51 tackles, which is the Eagles' leading person in tackles, and he also has 2 sacks. But what what you'll see from Zach Bond if you watch these games is that he is able to stop drives with them. He's able to just grab guys by the legs and take them down really easily. And that's what I really like about Zach Bond, is that he can stop big drives from happening. He stopped a lot of drives. I've seen him stop drives against the Saints, against the Browns that we just saw. He is a very consistent player on a team that has shown a lot of inconsistency as of late. Now, my next hero pick this is where it gets really weird. My next hero pick is Will Reichard, the kicker from the Minnesota Vikings. He's a rookie.
Some love today.
I'm all for kicker love, right? He's a rookie out of Alabama, and he was picked in the draft. No one's talking about him, but I don't understand why. He's 16 for 16 on extra points, 9 for 9 on field goals, with a long of 58 yards as a rookie. He has contributed about 41 points to the Lions' insane undefeated run, and he's just been really consistent for them. And he's a rookie. That's insane to think about. You don't really get a lot of love from rookie kickers. I mean, last year, Brandon Aubrey got all of the hubbub because he was really good. He came off the couch. He had just joined the NFL from the USFL and stuff, but this guy was just in college, he kicked, and now he's on the Vikings, and no one talks about him. But he is a large contributor to the fact that the Vikings are undefeated. I mean, he contributes points and he contributes all this stuff. The Vikings almost lost to the Packers, but he kicked the field goal that brought him ahead before the Packers could successfully make their comeback run in the fourth quarter. So this guy really, in my opinion, is a true unsung hero of the Minnesota Vikings.
I love it. I didn't even know this guy. I'm going to be so honest. I didn't even know. This is great. We're learning.
Kickers are, I think what we're learning here is kickers are
Yeah.
probably, it is the most
It's so
underrated,
funny, I
under
almost
the
put
value.
Jake Elliott,
Really?
But the Eagles don't put up points. So
again, inconsistency, but that's why I picked Zach Bond.
Yeah, I love it.
Unfortunately.
Eagles need to take notes on how he tackles.
Yeah, unfortunately, I cannot take Tyler Bass for Bills kicker.
I actually have him on my fantasy team. I need him to show up tonight. So.
He is very inconsistent this year. But we'll go with my picks here, and the first one I believe is not a Bill, but it is Brock Bowers of the Raiders. This dude, he just drafted this year. He's a rookie. He's a stud. He really doesn't get talked about as being one of the top tight ends right now because he's on the Raiders, because the team is not that great. But with whatever's going on with Davante Adams, hasn't been playing. This dude has stepped up. Back-to-back games now, he's caught 8+ targets, had 70+ yards. He's been literally the Raiders' offense, him and maybe Alexander Mattison a little bit. And I'm really excited to see what he does in the future, especially if Davante Adams gets traded, because he will be the guy in Las Vegas, and he's already showing that he can be a top 5 tight end in the league in his rookie year. So he is just terrific. And as for my second player here, this dude, 6th-round pick out of Villanova, Christian Benford of the Bills. He is slowly turning into the rock, the foundation of this defense, especially with all the injuries they see year after year. Taron Johnson, Terrell Bernard going out. This dude is always a stud out there for the Bills. Solid, shuts down quarterbacks, has allowed a 65 passer rating this year so far. I think he's allowed only 12 completions on the year, and his average is like 7 yards a completion. So he's not allowing the big plays downfield. He's doing extremely well, always has. What a great steal by Brandon Beane out of the draft, and a player who doesn't not get talked about at all in the NFL. Flies so under the radar every game, every year. So I'm going to give Christian Benford his flowers for coming out of Nova and being a stud for the Buffalo Bills.
Nice.
Now, talk about unsung heroes. What you just described, he sounds like a beast right now.
Christian
and
Benford.
I really respect that. You know, getting the guys that they don't get a lot of love, and I'm glad that we can give some of these players, the love they deserve, the flowers they deserve.
Yeah, no, this dude, Christian Benford. I mean, I can't describe him enough. What he's done for this team, especially with all the injuries the Bills have had in the secondary every year. But anyways, we're going to be moving on to finish the sentence. So there's going to be 3 sentences presented on the board here. So we're going to go around the table and we're going to finish them with our pick here. So looks like there's 2 player answers and a team. We'll start with the first one. So the first sentence is, the best quarterback in the NFL in 5 years will be blank.
I love this slide.
No, this is a good slide.
Yeah.
So is there somebody who goes first, or we just go around the
we'll just go around the
table?
table.
We'll just,
You
yeah,
can
so we'll
start.
start with Vivianna.
So the best NFL quarterback in 5 years, I have CJ Stroud. He's still super young. He continues to impress everyone year after year. He's just getting better. Each year as he is going through the league. He's one of the top QBs right now. Houston is rolling right now. And yeah, I believe that he's just going to keep going. The bar for rookie quarterbacks, I believe, is set so high because of him. I mean, well, in his second year, like, CJ Stroud, killing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said CJ Stroud as well. I was gonna say I was gonna say Caleb Williams just to be fun, but I actually don't believe that, and I don't want to be untruthful here. But just because there's people like Jane Daniels and CJ Stroud, 1,500 passing yards, 10 touchdowns. He has 4 interceptions right now, a little high, but Texans are rolling, like you said. D'Amico's a dog. Yeah, I got nothing else. CJ Stroud's just the guy right now.
I picked Jaden Daniels, which it hurts a little bit coming from an Eagles fan, but you can't deny he is a great rusher and passer. He looks like someone akin to Lamar Jackson, you know? And he'll only get better with experience. From what I've seen from him, he's only going to get better with experience, and he could set the standard for scrambling QBs in the future, as Lamar Jackson has for the past, couple of seasons. He could be the next guy that is the standard. And seeing him just kind of start building upon himself throughout these next few games, getting better and getting better, it's awesome to see in real time. He has become quite the quarterback for the Commanders, and so I'm excited to see what he does in 5 years.
I went the boring route here. I chose Mahomes. At the end of the day, I mean, this he's a winner. All he's done is win. He's 3 Super Bowls right now. The Chiefs they're turning into that next dynasty, and I haven't seen anything from other quarterbacks here to make me think that they could be the next big quarterback in the league. As much as I don't like the dude, always beats.
But we don't like him because he's good.
He's good. That's right.
He's not
It's the
even
same situation with,
besides the when he was whining about the offsides call.
Oh my
That
God.
was
To
so annoying.
Josh Allen,
That
which is
was
so
annoying.
stupid.
That was
But
really bad.
he's just a classy guy. He's a class actor. It just sucks.
It's the
he's
same
just so
thing with
good.
when Tom Brady was really good.
Yeah.
People were mad just because he kept winning.
kept winning.
But that's why he also played for 20 seasons.
Exactly. And unfortunately, for the rest of the NFL, I think that's the trajectory he's on currently with this team. Anyways, we'll move on to the next question here, and that is the best player from the 2024 NFL Draft will be blank. Just start with you, Vivianna, again.
So with this question, I went with Malik Neighbors. I mean, he's on path. He's on path right now to have over 1,000 yards, and he's a rookie. He's the Giants' #1 wide receiver, and he's really shown up for them. And I mean, I think he's just going to continue to go. He is injured right now. I believe he had a concussion, so I mean, hopefully he's back at it soon. But yeah, Malik Neighbors, he's on path right now to have over 1,000 yards this season, and I'm sure with that, more touchdowns to come.
Yeah, he's been a stud this year.
I said the same thing. Hopefully, maybe we'll go. If we go 3 for 3, that'd be funny. But I said Malik Neighbors. I said one of two things. If let's say the Giants, he's just like a guy who's just always a Giant and always will be. Let's say he's a Giant. I could totally see like Shador or someone coming into this draft class going into the Giants and then building through that. Right? Neighbors has a season under his belt. And all things like that. I could, a Justin Jefferson type now. Sam Darnold's coming in, making him look a lot better.
Pretty sneaky.
Things like that. Could be cool. Well, we never know. Giants are rebuilding. I don't think Dable's the guy either, but that could be cool. And then if he does go, he could be like a, I don't want to say D-Hop because D-Hop was pretty good where he was at, but like D-Hop was fine on the Cardinals. He's okay on the Titans last year when Will Levis actually targeted him and things like that. So I know that he's good. Is he better than Marv? Other people on the show like to say he is. I don't know if I 100% agree with that, but I think, whether it's Shador or Ewers or whoever it is on the Giants, because Daniel Jones is not here to stay, I think we could see a rebuild sooner than we think for the Giants.
Oh, yeah, 100%. And we're still going to have to see production from Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. to fully determine who will be the better player. I personally chose Joe Alt. Joe Alt has unbelievable strength and blocking, and he's already proven to be such a great tackle, not just in the NFL, but specifically for the Chargers. He's a great scheme fit for them because one of their biggest concerns last year was protection for Justin Herbert. As you know, he went out the rest of the season with a finger injury. And I think we have to go back a couple of games to when the Chargers played the Raiders, when he had no QB pressures against Max Crosby, who is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, and he held him down. He is a very impressive player. I would not be surprised if he ends up being the best player from the 2024 draft class.
Yeah, he definitely will be the best offensive lineman from that class. Joe Altalide is terrific so far. I went with Jaden Daniels. That was my guy coming out of the draft, but I had him as the best quarterback coming out, and so far he's looked the part too. He's been amazing this year. Just having a great season for Washington, really bringing them back into relevancy after the whole Dan Snyder thing. He sells the team. They go out, get their franchise guy, Jaden Daniels. He's been terrific. Woke up Terry McLaurin to be really consistent this year. That was something he really hasn't had, was a quarterback. And now look at what he's doing out in Washington right now. This dude, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a stud for years to come. And then the final question, we gave them before the show a little bit for our social media pages. The Super Bowl winner, so the 2024 champion will be blank. And Vivianna, who do you have winning the Super Bowl?
If I thought the Steelers could win the Super Bowl, I would say, but I'm not really sure if they will. But I do think that the Baltimore Ravens have a pretty high chance of winning the Super Bowl. I mean, they're just so dominant both on offense and defense. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, I believe, is going to be MVP this year. So, I mean, just with him and then on defense, I mean, we got Kyle Hamilton, one of the best safeties in the league. I believe that their offense, they're scoring points, and their defense, they're stopping. So, the Ravens, I have them as the NFL champions.
All right, I did not say the Ravens. We didn't go through
So
Victoria.
close.
I do have the Detroit Lions. I think from a depth chart and on paper, they do have the best team in the league right now. Even with Hutch's injury, I don't believe that will be a huge factor. We talked about the back seven earlier in the show and all that stuff. If like the Max Crosby thing happens, I don't think it will. But if someone like Hassan Reddick comes in, that'd be kind of all right. Like I don't even hate that. I want to see Dan Campbell hold a Lombardi Trophy so darn bad that it's kind of a need at this point. I understand it's NFC and that's against the Eagles. Eagles aren't winning anything besides a 4-game win against the Browns, so they're not going to the Super Bowl. But if I could see Jared Goff hold one after Matthew Stafford held one, and Dan Campbell and Amon-Ra and just everybody, even Hutch would hold it. Like he's just the guy.
Yeah.
I love everything about the Lions. I love their vibe. I love Dan Campbell. I love Amon-Ra. Everybody. I love that team. Please.
Yeah, I agree with you. It'd be really cool to see the Lions win a Super Bowl, especially with that passionate fan base. I had a bit of a dark horse pick. I said the Buffalo Bills
My man.
would
There
be
we
the
go.
Super Bowl champions.
There
we go.
Look, they have one of the strongest leaders in the NFL at QB with Josh Allen.
Yeah. Yes,
sir.
They have such a consistent QB in Josh Allen, and he's constantly proven that he can make plays, he can win games. The offense is able to produce even without, star wide receivers, star tight ends. Even without that, they've still been able to get points on the board. They've still been able to win. And the defense, it doesn't really seem like it's been much of a problem this year either. They've been pretty good, pretty solid, all things considered. Obviously, you have a couple of holes in there, but you look overall and you just see a good team. It doesn't look great right now, but like last year, I think they'll be able to come back and get over top of that and win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's right. I'm changing my answer to the Buffalo Bills. I had that.
Who'd you have originally?
I had Kansas City, but
Okay.
I think this is the year. They go through this rut every year where they're always just in a bad place, then they always come around for the playoffs. I think this is the year Josh Allen can do it. He has no wide receivers. Everyone's counting them out right now. I think this will be it. Anyways, we're going to go to some Week 7 storylines. So looking ahead here, we're going to briefly touch on this. So there's a bunch of interesting games, player storylines to follow through this week. So we're going to talk about this, and we'll do a little reverse circle here. So we'll start with Aiden this time. What are you looking forward to in Week 7?
I gotta say Saquon's return to MetLife. You have two extremely passionate fan bases and such a great player in the middle. I'm really excited to see the reaction to that, and I really want Saquon Barkley to go off. I want him to have his, revenge game, his you should have paid me game. So I'm really excited to see that.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah, I did say the same thing. One thing I did want to mention, and not a lot of people are talking about this, the primetime games as well, like Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, have been a lot better this year. I know that was a huge complaint last year. Not a lot of people liked where that was going. And this week, we're right back where we started. We're watching Bo Nix versus Spencer Rattler on Thursday, which is not good, so that kind of stinks. Not to bring the vibe down, but I think Steelers-Jets is kind of a cool game, just to see just to see where both of those
gonna
teams are
be
at. I
some-
think that's kind of a good
A
test.
lot of defense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot. I'm not saying it's going to be like the most fun game ever. I also don't think Super Bowl matchups are like the coolest thing ever because it's not the same as the Super Bowl. Everybody knows that. It'll be cool again just to gauge the teams. I think Saquon's going to go off, but yeah, Thursday Night Football a little disappointing, but that's the one angle I wanted to tackle.
Yeah, for this week, the matchup I'm looking excited for is Lions-Vikings. I would mention this is a divisional game, and this game is very important for either team to win. And then we'll see now the Lions without Aiden Hutchinson, how that's going to affect them. And hopefully the Vikings will capitalize on his absence. But yeah, like I said, that this is a divisional game, and these are the games that matter when it comes to playoffs.
Yeah, so Nick, you mentioned the Saints-Broncos game. There's actually a little storyline here. Sean Payton's returning to New Orleans
true,
for that
true.
game. That's the one I had.
Oh,
That's
I
going
forgot
to be
about
it's
that.
going to be a
I didn't
sneaky
forget
game,
about that.
especially with the way his tenure ended in New Orleans. This dude's the most winningest coach in their history. It's going to be an interesting game. See how he
Yeah.
gets his Broncos riled up. See how the team, the Saints, respond to him coming back.
Touche.
But staying in Week 6 or going back to Week 6, we have a game tonight. The Buffalo Bills, the New York Jets. Just quick little answers here to wrap up the show. Who do you think's going to win this game after both teams suffered pretty bad losses last week?
I say it's the Bills. The Bills have only lost to the Texans and the Ravens, both of the top two teams in the AFC. And the Jets right now aren't looking so hot.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm going Bills.
What's the score?
Score, let's go 32-7.
Whoa.
I think it's going to
Okay.
be high.
I'd love
Okay.
that, but I
Yeah.
don't know
It's
if
gonna
that's
be
going to
high.
happen.
Yeah, okay. I also have a blowout. Unless you're the Las Vegas Raiders last year, nobody can have an interim head coach just completely change the scene. I don't think Saleh was like a toxic person. I just think he wasn't that good of a coach. He's a defensive guy. Offense is what the Jets need to focus on. All good. Josh Allen's having an MVP year. I have 31-17 Bills.
I have Bills by a touchdown.
Ooh.
I'm a little bit of a, like, people are saying blowout, but I think it's going to be a bit of a rocky game. I don't know. I just have a gut feeling. So I'm saying Bills by a touchdown. Doesn't matter what the score. They're still going to come out by one possession.
I'm right there with you, Aiden. It's going to be a rocky game. The Bills have not looked great. They always seem to struggle in MetLife when they played the Jets the last 2 years. Haven't won there in a couple of years as well. I'm going to say the Bills win tonight. It's going to be a close game, 20-17. Really hope Josh can get back on track throwing those touchdowns, even if it means throwing an interception or two. But
You're going to have to live with that forever.
Oh, boy.
unfortunately. But that's going to be it for the show today. We want to thank you all for watching. We will see you next week. Have a great day, everyone.
And tomorrow, college football.
Tomorrow.
True.
That's
College
college
football
football tomorrow. Yeah.